Hello everyone and welcome to another chapter of Glamador's DFO Sprite Editing Tutorial video series. This is just going to be a small installment explaining where to find some of the most commonly modded sprites and where they're hidden in the NPKs. Some of them are not easy to find and I get a lot of questions asking how to do specific mods. The most commonly asked by far is how to edit your HUD or heads-up display, and that is located in Sprite_interface. Right here. It is base.image. Hello and welcome to another mini chapter of Glamador's DFO Sprite Editing Tutorial video series. Today we're going to talk about where some of the harder to find sprites are in the NPKs and also how to properly edit the HUD, which a lot of people have asked about. So open up your DNF extractor, and then we're going to scroll down to Sprite_interface. This is where the HUD is housed, Sprite interface. Now there are two places with HUD elements. First is base. This has a couple of elements of the HUD. Most importantly is frame 91, which is this little red X. Now that red X has two functions. One, it shows up over your character portrait if you die in a dungeon, and two, it shows up whenever there is a missing avatar or weapon element or missing sprite of any kind, really. If the game cannot find the sprite, meaning you don't hide the file by putting an invisible sprite there, you actually delete it or rename it so that the DFO doesn't recognize that it exists, then it will show up that red X. And if you do something tricky to hide the avatars, like replacing them with a different file filled up to the correct file size, which does not have any of the actual avatar elements in it, then everything will pop up with this red X. And if you want to get rid of it, all you have to do is hide this file, like so. Hidden map, yes. Now that will no longer pop up in game. There we go. Ha. Minor hiccup. But to edit the main HUD, you're going to want to go down to main HUD.image. Now you recognize this is the HUD from DFO, vanilla DFO. And there are a couple of frames that are most important. 0 through 5 mostly, because these are your main HUD, your HP and MP bars, your Exp bar, and your fatigue bar. Now, there are also some elements further down that you want to take into account. 20 is your poisoned health, and if you change the shape of your health, you're going to want to change your poisoned health as well. Otherwise, when you get poisoned, it will clip through your HUD. Here we are. 36. This is what flashes over your HP and MP bars when they refill back to maximum and such not, after you've got frustration or something like that. So you're going to want to make sure this stays the same shape as your HP and MP bars as well. Now here, 54 and 55 are your pet EXP indicators. This is where your pet goes, right here, in that little bubble there, and his EXP bar fills up along the edge, which is taken up by this sprite here. So if you want to change the shape or color of that, that's where they are. And that covers everything in Sprite interface. There's a lot of stuff in here, including NPC and APC portraits that you find in the various dungeons. If you want to extract or edit those, make them into skill cutscenes or something, if you want to make yourself look like Chusey all the time, that's where you'll find these as well. And pretty much all the elements of your interface are in this NPK. A couple of skills that you may not be able to find on your own are in Gunner, Effect, Subweapon Struck Down. Don't mind that. Now, here we have the eye effect for both camouflage and eagle eye, as well as a little snap effect when the gunner snaps his fingers. These are pretty much hidden in here. Subweapon Struck Down is not a name you would think to associate with green and white eyes, but this is where they are. Another tricky one to find is Ghost Orb, and that's under Swordman, Effect, Reflect Guard. That's where you'll find all of the elements of Ghost Orb, including all of the little runes that show up over your head when you use... actually, I don't know what the Ashura runes are called, but it's the skill, you know it, you'll know it when you see it. Most of everything else is labeled pretty well straightforward, but generally if you can't find something in one of the various character effects, you're going to want, the first place you're going to want to check is in Sprite _ common effect. This is where a lot of the skills that enemies use and various HUD elements, actually not HUD elements, but things, indicators that show up on the ground and such whatnot, this is where they are, as well as all sorts of auras and power-ups and buffs. The actual camo animation, not the eye glow, is in this place as well. One of the things you may want to try and change is the magic circle. Here it is. You may recognize this as the little yellow ditty that shows up on the ground before an attack is about to hit in that location. It's all full of goodies. The summoning circle is in here as well. Among many, many other things. Here's one. This is the circle for things like Binoche's fireballs that fall from the sky, and everything done by Big Sis Louise, the summon. And if you're looking for some other things, everything to do with creatures has its own NPK for each creature under Sprite _ creature _ name of the creature. Now, not all of these are the same name as we have in the US here. Some of them are tricky to understand, but for the most part, you'll recognize the names and you'll be able to find them. A lot of things in the interface are clearly labeled as well. One thing you may not know is in Sprite _ Sprite _ map _ NPC is where are stored all of the NPC portraits as well as all of the NPC sprites themselves. They're not all clearly labeled. They are using only two-letter abbreviations, like DE is Delilah, or Gabe is Gabriel. GSD, he has his own thing. So if you want to edit any of the NPCs, they're all in here, along with a lot of their faces. And all of the event monsters as well as vending machines. Another Sprite package to keep in mind is Sprite interface skill cutscene.npk. This is where is stored all of your awakening cutscenes for all of the classes, even ones we don't have yet. As you can see. What are the teen ones? Boobies. That's pretty much all the places that you wouldn't think to look, or the ones that are hidden down here. A lot of the things that you can't find are going to be found in any of your commons. Common etc., common digit, common hit effect has a few, like the Halloween avatar skins that came out 2 Halloweens ago. They are stored here, the bat and the ghosts, as well as a couple of other things like these ice splinters that pop off of people. Say you wanted to change the color of ice to red, make every ice red. You'd have to know where all these ice splinters are so that you could edit that as well. But in general, I can only show you so much. You have to just click on everything that looks even mildly interesting and figure out what's where. A lot of it's clearly labeled, some of it isn't. I hope I've gone over the ones that'll save you at least having too much frustration. But that's all I can tell you for now. So I'll see you in Chapter 7 on sound editing. Look forward to that.